8. Crystal. Avia gave a small groan as the rays of the early morning sun assaulted her still waking senses. Rubbing a forehoof across her closed eyes and shifting slightly in her bed, she settled back down again. A large part of her wanted to just stay curled up in the covers, sleeping soundly and comfortably for as long as she could. But she could still feel that sun as her brain continued to wake up, and she knew her time was almost up. Slowly and drowsily, the changeling nymph opened her eyes. Just a crack at first, but enough to make out a few vague objects. A bedside table met her view. On it sat a simple lamp that was turned off alongside a plate of crumbs that used to be a couple slices of toast and a closed copy of Canterlot Cantables. Everything was just where she had left it the night before, when she had finished her toast and saved her place in the book before willingly slipping away to Luna's realm of dreams. Speaking of dreams, Avia couldn't really recall her own for the night. Something about tree sap? But there was something else, too. Something she was forgetting. As the filly tiredly glanced over the rest of the room, she realized it wasn't her room. It was far too wooden. No, she was staying someplace, but... Oh. Right. Somersault celebration! Avia proclaimed, her bed covers launched away from her by the power of her gossamer wings. Oh yeah, now she was awake. Active and eager to get started, Avia hopped down from her bed and made for the door. She did stop and turned back for a moment, lit her horn and wheeled the covers back into a neat and tidy state before picking up the empty plate and taking it with her. She'd be back for the book later. There was still a lot of reading to do. She exited the bedroom and entered a short hallway beyond, moving off to the right and heading down the stairs into the main library. When she reached the bottom, she instantly turned off and headed towards the kitchen door, swinging it open and happily trotting inside. When she did, she saw that her parents were already wide awake and grabbing a spot of breakfast before the day's festivities got fully underway. Both gave their child a welcoming smile as she walked through and placed her dirty plate into the sink before going to make herself some cereal.
Good morning, Avia,
her mother greeted.
Sleep well? Uh-huh,
Avia confirmed, pouring milk into the bowl as a finishing touch before joining her family at the table.
The book is really good. I want to read even more. I'm glad you like it, but there's no time for reading right now,
Queen Twilight responded.
Your Uncle Shining and Aunt Cadence will be here soon. Awesome! And we're going to meet them at the station, right?
Twilight nodded.
We are. So eat your breakfast. We'll be heading out soon.
It's a good thing you woke up when you did. I was about ready to throw a bucket of water on you. Facade teased.
Dad!
Avia blurted in protest.
That's mean!
And funny. Avia pouted, getting back to her cereal as grumpily as she could while her parents just tittered at her reaction. She couldn't maintain the grumpy veneer, though. Everything was just too darn exciting. From there, she ate her cereal at a steady pace, idly listening in on her parents' chatter. They weren't really talking about anything in particular, and there were moments where Avia zoned them out and entered her own thoughts. She was excited to see the rest of her family, but equally she found herself quite eager to hang out with the Cutie Mark Crusaders again. Her new friends were quirky, but despite the bruises, she could not deny her enjoyment from hanging out with them. She was already coming up with some less spine-breaking ideas for them to do. Not to get a cutie mark, Avia did know better than them that she wouldn't ever get one despite their continued insistence to the contrary. But that wouldn't kill the fun of trying to get their own. Even if she already knew it wasn't going to work. But that's the nature of research. Failure begets eventual success. Science! Avia finished the last of her cereal, mopping up the stray puddle of milk in the bottom of her bowl. She then levitated it to the sink and placed it atop her old plate, waiting to be washed up later on. With that done, she returned to the table and propped herself up nice and tall, giving her mother a beaming smile.
So, are we going to go see Uncle Shining and Aunt Cadence now?
The nymph asked quickly.
Huh? Are we? Soon, Avia.
Twilight responded in amusement.
We have a little time before the Crystal Express is due to arrive. So calm down. I'm sure talking to us for a while won't be that bad, I guess so,
Avia replied, slumping back down.
So, what's first? For the celebration, I mean. Well, the nobility and guard are beginning to turn up,
her mother answered.
All the preparations from yesterday are complete, so I'd say it's just going to be a fun-filled day. And when will the princesses get here? Tonight, before the raising of the sun.
It's a shame they couldn't be here earlier, Facade noted.
They do still have their duties to perform,
Twilight pointed out.
Ponies are sadly flawed in their lack of a hive mind. I imagine Celestia would find it immensely useful to run the country from the kitchen while eating breakfast.
Flawed? That's very opinionated of you, Facade jabbed.
Hush! I know my bias, and I wear it proudly,
she shot back in a joking manner.
But yes, they'll be here when they're free to do so. It's still going to be a packed day despite that. Everyone's in a party mood to the lead-up.
Do you think it has something to do with the confetti cannons around town? Twilight laughed.
What? Did you think Pinkie Pie would miss the chance to one-up her last Summer Sun celebration setup? Can Princess Luna attack everyone during that?
Avia asked with a tilt of her head.
Bygones, Avia,
Twilight replied with a shake of her head. Ponies and their Reformation obsession, Facade muttered.
Even we're reformed villains in the average pony's book. Our hive did attack Canterlot after all. And if it's genuine, then why not?
Twilight shot back.
Can you imagine Equestria without Luna?
I suppose not. Hasn't worked out for us so far, though.
Not for a lack of trying,
the Queen noted sadly.
And that's what counts. But getting the other queens out of hiding has to count for something. Huh?
Avia got lost somewhere in that conversation. Twilight just gave her a sad smile.
Don't worry about it. It's just about those stories I told you. Tell you what, let's start heading to the station. We can have a morning stroll through the town in the meantime. Oh, okie dokie,
Avia agreed, rising from the table. Her parents followed suit, and from there they swiftly left the library and into the day of the Summer Sun celebration. The train station was a bustle of activity, but every creature had enough respect to part ways for the changeling royals as they approached. Some of the nearby armored drones probably added some motivation, the protection from the hive being quite intimidating to the average equestrian. But it wasn't too much of a bother, and the trio made it up onto the platform without any issue. When they arrived, they found that Velvet and Nightlight were already waiting, sat on a nearby bench discussing some newspaper amongst themselves. They brightened when they saw the others, however, and rushed to greet them just as a steam train finished offloading the latest guests to the celebration and departed for the next station. From there, it was just a matter of waiting it out, with one more train due to come in before the Crystal Express. That one arrived but 10 minutes later, pulling into the station with a loud whistle and a chug of smoke, coming to a halt and opening its doors to allow the passengers' departure. And then, much like its predecessor, it too pulled away and quickly rolled along the tracks until it was out of sight. Avia was starting to get a little bored of waiting. There wasn't exactly much on the platform to hold her attention for very long, and the adults were conversing among themselves about things that didn't interest her at all. But then, through the veil of dullness that had descended onto her mind, she heard another whistle.
It's here!
Avia announced with a massive grin, leaning to get a look at the long, gleaming vehicle rapidly on approach to the train station. The Crystal Express was breathtaking to behold. Its design was extremely unique for a train, the outer shell being composed of large blue decorative crystals that sloped down at the front for a very aerodynamic feel. It also lacked a smokestack, unlike the other trains she had seen thus far, and overall had a far more advanced and modern feel to it. The shiny train chugged its way into the station, steadily coming to a halt with a whoosh of its hydraulic braking system. Queen Twilight gave her daughter a light tap on the shoulder, leading her toward the back of the train where the royal carriages sat. As they went, the rest of the cars had their doors opened, and shimmering crystal ponies began to disembark with excited chatter and gleeful smiles that Avia could relate to. Just as they reached the back, the door of the royal compartment was thrown open, and a red carpet rolled out onto the platform by two emerging guards. With a trumpet and small fanfare, they then proceeded to escort the high-profile passengers that had been ferried within out. Princess Miyamori Cadenza was the first to emerge, and then at her side came the radiant Princess Flurryheart and the smartly dressed Prince Shining Armor.
Cadence!
Twilight greeted brightly, moving forward to share a quick nuzzle with her sister-in-law.
Shining! Have a good trip? The royal carriage hardly lacks for comfort. We're fine.
Cadence replied with a small chuckle.
And Twilight!
Flurryheart happily greeted, moving forwards and hugging her changeling aunt. Flurryheart looked much as her mother did when she was her age. She stood a head taller than most ponies, her silver regalia shining in the day's sun, with her immaculately kept mane done up into a neat bun.
Flurry! How is the best niece in Equestria? Happy to be out of the palace. I swear, you hear one diplomatic overture, you hear them all.
Flurry responded with a dramatic roll of her eyes.
And how about the best cousin in Equestria? Hey, Avia! Hi, Flurry!
Avia happily greeted as she bounced up.
Can we do the thing? Can we? Thing? Oh, you must be more specific. Please?
Flurryheart giggled.
Oh, all right, fine. Are you ready?
Avia nodded enthusiastically, all the while both Twilight and Cadence gave one another knowing looks. Then a moment later, the two began their chant.
Sunshine, sunshine, ladybugs awake! Clap your hooves and do a little shake!
And so the generations of the Sunshine Dance continued. She's having fun then, Twily? Shining asked lightly as he trotted up to his sister. No temper tantrums?
She does not have temper tantrums.
Twilight shot back, flicking her adoptive brother with her tail.
She takes after me, I'd think you'd find.
You'd set on fire when angry.
Hey, it's not like I knew I was a shapeshifter at the time.
She protested back.
And neither did you. You all thought I was just crazy powerful or something.
Well, we were right on that account, he pointed out. So, Your Highness, did your changelings help get everything in order?
The celebration is well underway,
Twilight informed them.
Everyone pitched in, all organized to perfection. We'd expect nothing less from the most efficient changeling queen.
Cadence slightly teased.
She does have a knack, does she not?
Twilight Velvet said with a chuckle. You say that like it's news. Facade piped up.
And like it's a bad thing.
The queen in question shot back.
Second largest hive in the world. Being efficient is a must.
She's got us there, Nightlight stated before her and his wife finally moved to greet their newly arrived family properly. And as the family all continued their greetings and brief catch-ups with one another, a large shadow was approaching the train station. Several people looked up at the cause, some remaining unfazed, while others shrunk back a little as if trying not to be seen, clearly intimidated and even a little frightened by the sight. And just as Princess Cadence finished saying something to her young niece, bopping her on the nose with a laugh, the shadow reached the station. Something large crashed down onto the building's roof, bringing its head down to lord over the gathered family of changelings and ponies as they all looked up at the creature.
Hey guys,
Spike greeted in a deep voice, the dragon giving them a large fang-filled smile.
did I turn up at the right time or what?
Spike!
Tall Eye greeted back in gleeful surprise, flying up to the dragon's head and giving him a small hug.
I wasn't expecting you for a few more hours.
Spike was far from the baby dragon of old, or even the pony-sized lizard who had acted as Twilight's assistant in the hive. Now the dragon was easily the size of a house, dwarfing any other creature in the local area. And yet, as Changeling Queen and dragon reunited, it was as if nothing had truly changed.
Don't underestimate these bad boys.
Spike bragged, raising his large leathery wings in demonstration.
And Ember had us leave a little early. She's in an impatient mood.
I guess the gang's all here, Shining Armor quipped. How you doing, Spike?
I'm good. Eager to relax for a while,
He replied.
Say, any gem vendors around here?
For your hoard or for your stomach?
Twilight asked with a smirk.
Well, yes.
The queen giggled behind a huff.
I'm sure we'll find you something, number one assistant. It's a long day ahead. Well, are we going to stand around talking, or are we going to get to the party?
Flurryheart questioned. And as if to punctuate her point, the red carpet was rolled up and the door to the train closed. A whistle blew out, and the Crystal Express began to move away from the station. Shining Armor dismissed the escorting complement of guards, who began to venture off and join their changeling counterparts in awaiting the arrival of the Solar and Lunar Guard as well.
Guess we'd better get a move on.
Twilight agreed before looking back up at Spike.
You gonna follow us, Spike?
From rooftop to rooftop,
He replied.
unless you have a street big enough for me.
I could shrink you down for an hour or two.
Think I'll pass.
Avia thought that was a shame. She was curious what his small Uncle Spike would look like. But that thought aside, the family were now free to move from the station and back into Ponyville proper. Now they were together, all royal titles could be forgotten for a little while. For the time being, they were just a family having a nice day out. Just how they liked it,